Hello to all you Patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 159 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, the number one live podcast in Canada. We're recording on Monday, November 19th, 2018. I'm pretty sure Marty's internet's broken, but he's a hunter and sport shooter in rural southern Ontario.
It could be your mic, Marty.
Okay, is my internet broken? Dave, you're up.
Yeah, no.
Is he still on mute because he's eating carrots?
Yeah, he's on mute. And he's still eating carrots.
I don't know what that awful noise was, but it didn't seem like Dave. I hope that didn't get recorded.
Well, I'm still muted.
There
Okay.
we go.
The podcart's wheels have fallen off. Hello, everybody. I'm Random Dave, and I'm here incompetently because I feel the need to stare at Andrew's beard in a totally non-creepy way and make things stay properly derailed. I've recently returned from winning a 15th place medal in an ORA CQB match.
Congratulations.
Is that really what it worked out to? Was 15th place?
It was 15th place, and I got a medal. So, yes.
That's amazing.
Wow, that's a lot of medals.
From now on, we're going to give out one medal for everyone. So
Everyone
like
gets a
gold,
participation.
silver,
No.
bronze. So
Not
what is
everyone
15?
got it. There were
Like-
20 shooters, and only 9 of them got a medal.
15th is cast iron, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's shameful. Third place
Yeah.
bronze.
Aluminum.
yeah. There's lead on
I'm
the
just gonna say
spectrum.
that I got second place overall,
He did.
and
very
I'm pretty
impressive.
sure I was the only person wearing body armor.
No, there were a few guys wearing plates.
Were there?
Yep, there were. I whacked a few.
Or do they just have too many chicken wings and it looks like they're bulkier?
No, they were wearing plates. I punched one guy in the chest to see, and it was a plate.
That sucks.
I'm Liberal Tim, a sports shooter and husband and father of 3. I'm the owner and operator of Tim's Good T-shirts. They're quite good. I'm also the proud descendant of immigrants.
My name is Ian. I'm a target shooter, piss poor hunter, as it turns out, homesteading prepper, and token westerner.
Hi, I'm Benny, target shooter, ex-IDF guy, instructor for Bangaloose.ca, and Ragnarok Tactical Guinea Pig.
Awesome. I'm Gavin. I'm a warlord currently in charge of the local Toronto Jewish militia.
Oh, I've heard about your militia. I hear that not much happens on Saturdays, unfortunately.
No, just good old family time.
You got to learn how to say that in Yiddish.
Next week.
First, you get the power, then you get the Benny, what's the
Bagels.
word in Yiddish?
The bagels.
Then you get the bagel settled.
Close enough.
As
don't
always,
speak
my name is
Yiddish.
Andrew. I'm really. I thought that was like a thing that the IDF did. I thought that you guys just operated in Yiddish.
No, we operate in Hebrew. Sorry. But I can't speak that language either, so.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, competitive shooter, and I know nothing about Yiddish and very little about Hebrew.
That's a good thing. You don't teach either of those things. So
The instructor at Ragnarok Tactical Yiddish. Oh, that would be Benny. Never mind.
No, that's BennyLewis.com, not .ca. Different site completely.
.biz. You got to get the .biz.
Yeah.
Yes.
BennyLewis.com is a guy who will teach you a language in 3 months. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, like that's his claim to fame.
It'd be funnier if it was a white supremacy website.
Aren't all websites white supremacy websites, though?
True.
Depending on the viewer.
Yeah.
Do the
So,
bit,
yeah.
Gavin. Do the bit.
Well, we'd love to hear
Is this
your
working
feedback
yet?
about the show.
No.
Hey, it's Marty.
There you go. Hey.
Just in time to interrupt. Well done,
Yeah.
sir.
Well played, sir. Then we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Feel free to tell us how we've triggered you in some way or offended you in some way, or how we are or are not white nationalists. A version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
Check out the podcast. Check the podcast out. I think it should be check out the podcast. I'm going to check out the podcast.
Check out the podcast out.
Check out the podcast out.
Podcast is a library book?
Maybe.
Yes.
I like check out the podcast. I'm going that way. Should be a book. You should write a book. Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and on Instagram at Instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We need your help to support the show. Visit www.patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode, and the more you pledge, the better the rewards are. Show you're not a communist by buying a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Go to the homepage and follow the link on the right.
All right, it's time for my favorite segment. It's called What Are We Drinking? Every week, What Are We Drinking is brought to us by Arrowhead Coffee. Arrowhead Coffee is owned and operated by Canadian Armed Forces veterans. They love our country, the true North, strong and free, their family and friends. Join Arrowhead Coffee on their hunt for the perfect brew to raise morale and bring that feeling of home to you, no matter where you are. A portion of all profits helps Canadian Armed Forces members, veterans, and their families. That brings us to What Are We Drinking? We're going to start left to right on my screen. Dave, what are you drinking?
Well, currently I'm eating a carrot. So come back to me.
All right. Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Jack Daniel's rye and ginger ale, which
Wait, what? How does
yeah.
Jack Daniels make rye?
Yeah, I don't know, but they do.
Where did you buy that? Was it from a guy on the street?
Apparently,
How
it's not bad.
that?
Genuine Magnum.
It's actually not bad. So whatever. I mean, there's not much of this bottle left because I consumed the vast majority of it on Friday night with the host of another podcart from out east somewhere while he was in town. But it did the trick. I can tell you that much. It
Get you drunk?
it made Trevor's company tolerable.
Holy shit.
Wow. So it's just grain alcohol and you went blind is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, pretty much. No, it's actually not bad.
Okay. Take your word for it. Ian, what are you drinking?
Well, tonight I'm drinking something local here. It's Vancouver Island Sheringham Gin and Tonic. As unfortunately, I fell off the keto train today. The looks of it, judging by the fact there's probably more sugar in this thing than I drank last week. So yeah, it's just a local gin. It actually turns out if the hippies get to work and lay off the weed, they can actually produce some good stuff.
Right on. Marty, is your internet sorted out?
Sometimes.
All I get is a clicking noise. I don't know what that means. I assume that's a no.
Is it
Marty
no
is
Morse?
Dial up.
Maybe his internet is sponsored by BCL this week.
I think it's Morse code.
Hitting him in the face.
It works
You're right.
intermittently.
Benny, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black Label.
Whew.
Nice. Anything
Easy
in it?
there, big bucks.
Just Black Label on its own.
Yeah, I'm very like this bottle's like at least 5 years old, and there's a lot left. Don't be thinking I'd be chugging this stuff.
I mean, I'm not gonna comment one way or the other, but isn't Black Label 12 years old just to begin with?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way: this bottle has been open for a long time, so.
You keep that up, that bottle could vote for the next prime minister.
I don't know. It's an immigrant. Oh wait, that doesn't matter.
Not anymore.
I'll just put it.
Good. Dave, finish this carrot. Dave, what are you drinking?
Damn it. I'm drinking red wine and eating chocolate. I'm manning things up here. And I'm finding it quite amusing because in cheers out of a classy glass.
Oh, you're such a bitch.
Oh my god. I'm finding
Don't even understand what's going on right now. Tim, what are you drinking?
Crown Royal Dark and reverse osmosis water.
Nice. I don't know what's clicking, but I really hope it stops. Let's move on to some news. We're going to start with Ontario. We got an article from Global News. Ontario fiscal update reveals $14.5 billion deficit. Tax exemption for low-income earners.
Oh, good.
Good news followed by more good news. The Ontario government has finished their audit, and they found that they were given a nearly $15 billion deficit by the exiting Liberals. Good news is we're already figured out how to shave $500 million in operating expenses off the off the budget. So this is good stuff.
Would that budget be for one fiscal year or all 4 years in government?
That would be the current fiscal year. So they started. So I guess the government is apparently really bad at budgeting and auditing and accounting.
Shocking.
Because you would think that they would know how much money they had when somebody asked them. Like anytime that you said it was like, "What's the deficit this year?" You would think the government would be able to answer that question. But I guess the Liberals and the Conservatives had a difference of opinion about how the budget actually is calculated. So when the Liberals left, they told the populace that there was no deficit, everything was fine, and the PC's gone through the books now, and it's taken months to do that. Oh God, why is Marty doing that?
Mute yourself, Marty.
I think he's a robot.
Or a bumblebee? I'm not.
Does he have the beekeeper suit on?
Need more tubes.
You're criticizing the Liberals. Marty's a plant.
Yeah, so you would expect the government would be able to tell you how much money they had spent and how much money they were planning on spending, but I guess that wasn't the case. So this is for the.
I mean, when you steal the money, you don't really need to keep track of the money.
Yeah,
Well,
there's always more tax money.
Yeah,
You don't get it.
yeah. The coffers will refill themselves.
The funny thing is, Andrew, if you or I were to go to the government and the CRA shows up and goes, "Hey, Dave and Andrew, you've got businesses. What are your books like?" And we go, "I don't know. I'm just going to make some shit up." We could end up going to jail for that. I mean, there'd be punishment and fines and all sorts.
Oh yeah, I've been threatened with fines by the government just because I don't file my quarterly tax return every quarter like I'm supposed to, because I have other things to do that are more pressing than filing my tax returns. So I've definitely been threatened with fines because of that.
Well, I've gotten fines for that. I've gotten fines for being a day late, and yet these jackasses just do whatever, follow like crazy accounting principles that no auditor would ever agree to. And the punishment is, vote for us.
Nothing.
Yeah, we get the punishment. As Diesel Boy on YouTube points out, though, the budget will balance itself, so not to worry.
Yes.
It's never been a revenue problem. It's always been a spending problem.
Yeah.
And the budget will balance itself.
Oh, well done.
Marty? Is that Marty?
Yes, that was me. So other good things come out of the budget, although this is met with much criticism. The Ontario government has decided to stop taxing individuals who make less than $30,000 per year.
So you're only getting taxed by your federal government at that stage.
Right, which is significantly less tax.
So won't all the
Not
poor
complaining.
people move to Ontario?
God, I hope not.
Tim, they already live here.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cause and
they're
effect.
making more every day.
But I mean, like, for my opinion, this is good news. Of course, the critics are complaining that the $15 an hour minimum wage would lead these low-income workers to have more money, which we've talked about the math on the show at length. That's not how it works. By paying them $15 an hour, it puts them into a higher marginal tax bracket. Assuming they're working a full-time job, it means they actually end up paying more money in taxes than what they would take home. But hey, we're not economists. We just get drunk on Monday nights and do this on a podcast.
It's still
The government-
somehow better numbers.
Well, but the government says that that's not true. If we just paid them $15 an hour, they'd make more money.
Yeah. And if we all paid less taxes, we'd have more money to spend. So I do find it amusing sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean,
When-
it's true. We'd make more money if we all got paid more. We take home more money if we get taxed less.
Yeah, which I'd prefer. And I find it amusing that sometimes certain governments will say, well, if people had more money, blah, 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 we'll lower taxes. No, we can't do that. Well, why not?
Well,
Yeah.
and
Of course you can.
the Ontario government actually kind of has. In some cases, they found ways to reduce we're not getting money from the carbon tax, or I guess we're not getting money from cap and trade, which is carbon tax, which I was assured by the Liberals when they ran for the federal government that this was a revenue neutral program. And there's something else that we changed that we're not getting revenue on.
Beer. Last.
No, there was something else. Cap and trade and I guess it's just planned tax increases. I thought I had somewhere show prep is lacking or whiskey is strong. I'm not sure. I thought I actually had looked up what some of the planned tax increases were, but meh.
Hey, you know what else would ensure that the low-income earners pay less tax? Flat tax.
A flat tax. Ideally of zero would be my
ideally
preferred
would be zero. Tax. Bad time to mention the shirt?
No, it's a good time.
Nice.
Shirt, you got to hold it up to the microphone so the people can hear it, though.
Yeah, taxation is indeed theft.
It is theft.
Yeah, flat tax would be nice. Or just like a straight consumption tax.
I would like a straight consumption tax or very minimal income tax, and then if you want rich people to pay more taxes, like the left seems to want, just make a straight up consumption tax. Leave it at that. Rich people spend more money, they pay more taxes. Done.
Okay. And if you don't want to spend
that is Hong Kong.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for people to catch on to the European model of not putting the tax on after you get to the till.
Oh God, yeah, that would be so convenient too. Just adding it in. See, when you see $5 on a price tag, it's $5.
Yeah, that would be really, really good because that does annoy me.
Yeah.
Don't know why you guys don't just work out the 13% in your head like everyone else.
Everyone else in North America.
I don't want to.
I do, but I'd rather just have it in the price and you don't have to think too much.
You can go to the Costco down in Washington State. You can see they actually have the tax on the price tag in Costco, and you can see exactly what you're going to pay at the till, which is nice.
That's
smart.
It's not that if I'm going to buy $2 worth of eggs, I'm going to pay $2.25 when I get to the till. It's easy math.
No, not if they don't tax
up
eggs.
It angries up the blood, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're just indoctrinated, man. You're a mathlete.
This is just mathematics. Silly me. All right, let's do some other. We got two articles for I don't even know gender equality, gender studies, gender something. One from BC. Sorry, Ian. Kawana now. Publicly funded gender affirmation. Didn't even make the title. Publicly funded gender affirmation surgeries will soon be provided in BC. So this is already a thing that happens in some provinces, but this will be the first province in Western Canada where your socialist government healthcare program will pay for bottom surgeries.
Bottom and top, it turns out.
Is it just me that
they're already paying for the top surgeries, but now they're going to pay for the complex lower surgeries in BC?
Yeah, and
Go
ahead, Dave.
I like that they call it gender affirming, like it's a gift card from a friend saying, "You're great."
I mean, the name to me sounds a little weird. Like, isn't like an affirmation confirming something that already exists? So
that's why they're wording it that way.
It's more like a Stuart Smalley affirmation of their feelings, but I'll quote my daughter on this one, and she said, so basically your tax money is going to be paying for somebody else's fake boobs.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay, so fun dichotomy. I don't know how this works in BC, but at least in Ontario, if you want to get fake, like if you're a cisgendered, heteronormative female, and you wanted to get the fake titties, you got to pay for that out of pocket. It's not covered.
Oh, yeah.
Pricey.
But if you suffer from gender dysphoria and you want to get the fake titties, the government will pay for it.
Well, it's interesting. They consider one to be an elective surgery and the other one to be more of a sculpting what you really are kind of surgery.
Affirmative.
Now, could you then claim that you identify as a larger busted woman?
That's what I was
I
curious
don't see
about.
why not.
Why can't we identify as someone who thinks that taxation is theft and not pay for other people's top and bottom surgeries?
Well, and this is my preference. I don't understand why we're paying for this in BC. Like,
Oh my gosh! We should all identify as like 15-year-olds, and we can't pay tax.
Yeah, but then Kevin Spacey would get us.
Whoosh.
We'll need to see the list of everyone who has signed up for that, please.
Well, the good news is, I guess if you look further down the article, you can see that you can actually just put an X for gender now. So that's going to make sure you can get a government job more easily. Because, you know, if they're not hiring white males, you could just identify as an X.
Oh, I thought that meant that you were a member of the X-Men.
No, unfortunately, no. No
There's
superpowers.
going to be a few people there now.
it could mean you're an X-Man. It could also mean that you're an X-woman. Depends on which kind of lower surgery you get.
X-person? Is person offensive?
We prefer people kind.
Yeah, I take issue with this, not because I have if you want to be transgendered, I mean, you probably need to seek some counsel about that, but I don't want to pay for your affirmation surgery. If you want to chop things off or add things, you just pay for that. Because
people should be free to mutilate their genitals or upper body however they feel necessary. I mean, that's
right. I just don't want to pay for it. And if we're going to pay for this, then I think that, you know.
Wait, but you don't have to do that now. Now you can be you can have a penis and be considered a woman. There's no reason to go through the risk.
And if they want to have a penis and be considered a woman, that's like their business and go nuts. I just don't want to pay for them to chop it off.
Right, exactly. So
cycling races.
There's a big difference between gender and sexual preference for sure.
Right, but like you can be a woman in today's society with a penis,
not all men have
and that's
penises.
fine.
Well,
not all women
have vaginas. I think there's another article we're going to talk about later that's part of the thing, isn't it?
Well, okay, I guess we can pivot to that now. Ontario PC Party passes resolution to debate recognition of gender identity.
Can we pause right there before? I was just reading the feedback on
is super paused
on the article, and Jack K from somewhere in Canada, his comment was, "What about dental, you dumb fucks?"
No, I'm not paying for that either.
Well, first of all, they don't speak for all of us in BC. I'll say that.
Anyway, I thought that was funny. I was looking for a good comment, and that was it.
Yeah. No, but my answer is I'm not paying for your dental either.
Yeah.
Here's the funny thing.
Junk.
I have relatives who have type 1 diabetes through no fault of their own. They were born that way, and their insulin isn't paid for by the government. So they will die. They have to pay for their insulin. It's not covered by our, cover everything healthcare system. But
your relatives aren't smart enough to identify as someone without diabetes. That's not my problem.
I mean, I have to pay for my own test strips for my diabetes.
And that's how they make their money. They'll give you a free machine in a heartbeat, but you got to pay for those strips.
And medication and anything else that I need.
Yeah, and our good buddy Scott, who was the recipient of the Fuck Cancer charity shoot, he's got some good news. His test results came back yesterday that were favorable for the first time for a while. He got hosed for like $1,800 in parking during his radiation treatment. So,
it seems. I mean, he seems to have been hosed on a bunch of things. Like,
because he only drove 63 kilometers to get the radiation treatment. If he drove more than 100, the parking would be free. But
yeah,
should have driven around the block a few times.
Yeah.
Anyway, a bit of a derailment. You can reel her back in, Andrew. I believe in you.
Yeah.
All right. Unpausing the pause that was happening. The BC government. So naturally, the media and the leftists have freaked out about this because, oh my God, in Ontario, we're not going to treat non-normative people as special snowflakes. And no, that's actually not what happened. So this is a party resolution to debate recognition of gender identity at the next party convention next year. The theory is that the Ontario PC government will remove the teaching and promotion of gender identity theory from the Ontario school curriculum. Now, since this article has come out, Ford has already said that he's going to crush this as leader of the Ontario PC party. This will not go to debate, and this will not become the government's policy. I don't think that he's actually allowed to set what gets debated or not at a policy convention. Because he's the leader of the party, I don't think that means he gets to set the policy of the party. I'm relatively certain that that is not how it works, at least in Ontario. So
No, that makes sense.
That being said, they can debate it. They can debate it all they want at the policy convention, and that doesn't mean the government has to do anything, because it still has to be tabled as a motion. It still has to become a bill. It has to still go through the House, and then it has to become law. Now, the good news of all of this is the PC is maybe not completely out to lunch and catering to people who are not following, call it normative lifestyles. I don't think we should be teaching this stuff in schools, is really what it comes down to, is because this is not part of sex ed. Gender identity is not part of sexual education.
It would be mental education.
Right? Like, I contend that the government shouldn't be teaching anything for sex ed in school, because it's really not the government's place to be indoctrinating our children one way or the other. But
I would disagree with you on that one. The straight up medical stuff I have absolutely no issue with, because frankly, most people don't discuss that stuff with their kids, which is sad. I mean, you need to know
I would
the health
agree
stuff.
with you if the government actually taught the medical stuff in schools. But how many decades did we spend teaching abstinence instead of actually talking about, medical science?
Well, that's the issue, right? They teach whatever they
taught that in my high school.
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is don't be a dick and don't bully kids for whatever reason it is. Like, if someone goes to your school and they're gay, trans, a different race, a different religion, fat, funny looking, like buck teeth, whatever it is, don't bully them.
Grab the entire panel.
Yeah, I'm inclusive that way. Don't bully them. Like, if someone is bullying somebody for whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. To deal with the fucking bully. That's the problem. And if you teach people how to deal with bullies, then all this other shit goes away because no one cares.
Yeah, I was listening to the radio on the way to work today, and Kathleen Wynne was on the radio. I'm surprised, but I guess she's gay, so they brought her in on this one, and she said, "I'm not saying that they're hateful or anything, but given the other stuff that's happening in the party and the getting rid of the children's advocate and blah blah blah, it's a really scary time." Not quoting exactly, but scary time to be alive. These transgendered people won't feel safe. It's placing children in danger and blah, 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 blah.
You mean
all that
like
stuff.
cutting funding to organizations that haven't made a lick of difference in however long the Liberal Party was in power?
Or having a sex offender as your head of education?
Here's the thing, though. Like, they've taken away the defense against a bully. When you had somebody that's bullying you, punch them in the face.
Yeah. It works 100% of the time.
Kids don't defend themselves anymore.
Yeah, and they've never been
school systems.
Yeah, they've never been more delicate and sensitive, and snowflake.
Yeah.
I want to mention a video, an interview I saw today on YouTube, with Joe Rogan and
Oh my God! Yes, I was going to bring that one up.
James Lindsay and Peter. I can't pronounce his last name. That one?
Yeah, about
I think. Yeah, basically they submitted 20 papers for peer review. I think seven of them got accepted and 4 of them were published. All hoax, all made up, all based on similar ideas and concepts that we're discussing right now. Basically proving that this whole part of academia and people who are supporting this thought process don't actually have any science backing them up and aren't based on any reality. It's all on feelings, which is fine. You can feel the way you want to feel, and I'm not telling you you're wrong or how you're supposed to feel, but don't start dictating how other people should be feeling or acting.
Well, what I always
left, right? They do what feels good, not necessarily what does good. And yeah, this particular bit, I just posted a link in the YouTube chat about it. These guys are like trolling the crap out of these people, like coming up with insane things like, you know, if heterosexual males won't have sex with transgendered females with penises, they need to have their females peg them more, and then that will make them more accepting. And this actually got like
I don't think
accepted.
that's how that works.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was like, and the
Their
funny
premise
thing
was
is,
that
go Marty.
essentially their premise was that no matter what bullshit they made up, and like they actually like they used legitimate stats for most of these as well, but like no matter what bullshit they wrote for their paper, as long as it supported a leftist agenda, they knew it would get passed and published and make its way through peer review without issue.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, they
they
did have
submitted-
issues. They didn't go far enough.
Yeah, no, every correction was they didn't go far enough, and they did one of the papers that didn't make it through at all, I think, was they took Mein Kampf and they replaced every time it said Jew, they replaced it with cis white male, I think, and that didn't make it through though. But when they just took a single chapter and replaced, was it our group or our society or our party with feminism or something like that, that one did get accepted. I don't remember if it got published or not. So, yeah,
I know they got one of the Mein Kampfs through, but I thought it was when they changed it to white male that they got it through. But yeah,
no,
go
I
check
think
out that
one,
podcast. It was great.
yeah,
Oh, it was beautiful. It's like the ultimate trolling. And the funny thing is that there's nobody better to troll than people that are just so righteously, indignantly sure of themselves that they just can't see that you're mocking them. It's just so delicious.
and it's so funny because during the Joe Rogan interview, he keeps pulling up their papers, and it says rescinded rescinded. So like when they found out that all these papers were fake, they like started trying to pull them, but they left them up. But they're
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing, is that they pulled these articles because the articles, like they were legitimate data, they were legitimately sourced and everything like that. So the article was just as accurate as it was when they posted it. But just that once they found out that these guys were trolling and they didn't actually believe what they were writing, then they pulled the article.
so I didn't know if like because they did the whole thing with dog walking and
The dog one, they specifically said, that one was our bad. But like we definitely made that one up.
yeah, okay.
And that
The rest of
one
them
got
were
published.
That one got published, yeah. Yeah,
They
so
must
for
be
anyone, I
really
forget the
embarrassed.
exact title of it, but it was like the proclitivity of homosexuality in dog parks in, like, I forget what area, what city or something. I think that was like somewhere along that lines was the article for the dog park one. And that one, they just completely made up the data, saying that they inspected the genitals of 10,000 dogs and interviewed the owners about their sexual preferences.
That sounds like intern work.
Yeah.
Well, it was clearly their students that did that work for them.
That would be a shitty job.
Anyway, it just proves so much of it is just bullshit that people are just making up and believing their own stuff. Like, it's crazy. I mean, some of the stuff that these people on the left say, yeah, sure, there's some points, there's some grains of truth there, but then you take it to these crazy extremes, and people are eventually just going to look at it and eventually say, like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Well, they're quite convinced that the bulk of the population is quite worried about this, according to the article and everything else. But let's face it, the vast majority of people just don't enter their consciousness at all.
No, but it's different. I guess it's different for the academics. I mean, I know people who work in colleges and universities, and I follow them on my Facebook page. And I mean, for some of these people, this is their life. Like, this is the most important sort of issues in the entire world to them.
Well, that's how they can make a name, because this is a hot button issue right now, right? So they can do something for the cause on either side, really. And
Well, they also get power that was get power from doing it by being like a social justice warrior for this. They can control other people, and that's I think what one of the biggest factors is like they get to control and stop things.
And they get
But I was
affirmation for it as well, makes them feel better about themselves.
But I can't forget. Have you guys ever heard of the vagina
And we're paying for
monologues?
that affirmation. Well, yeah, that's another article I wanted to bring up. Is that the whole?
Like, that's how the left is going crazy. Like the vagina monologues was this whole wonderful, fantastic feminist thing where you just go to a show and women would talk about their vaginas.
Feminism, fantastic.
Okay. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, and
maybe fanatic or fascist is the correct.
But now, like, there was like I think a university in the States somewhere. I think it was EMU. Is that Michigan University or something?
Yeah, I think even in Canada we've started to say that no, you can't.
But they're not allowed to do the vagina monologues because not all women have vaginas now.
Yeah, I mean,
so the left is destroying itself. You know,
like
vaginas have women. No, wait, they don't. Never mind.
Yeah, like when I was in university, so in like 2000 to 2004, kind of partway through that is like when that whole thing like exploded. Like it was everywhere. Like every major city had a showing of the vagina monologues, and it was the greatest thing ever for women.
Oh yeah, they were finally they were doing striking a blow for women. They were talking about their vaginas the way we talk about our penises.
Well, we had puppetry of the penis.
Yeah, which was hilarious. I mean,
no.
Oh, Tim, no.
As long as it wasn't a marionette show.
I feel like I'm glad I have no idea what you're talking about.
Benny will show you after the show. It's okay.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
Something called the hamburger. You should Google it.
Yeah.
I'm not following it.
Yeah, Gavin's gonna whip you up a hamburger.
Topic.
The
Don't
goat.
forget about the chicken brain. Yeah. Or the bat wing.
Batwing for sure. Even Ryan Reynolds was talking about that one.
I was gonna say now it sounds like we're watching Waiting.
Exactly.
If you haven't seen Waiting, by the way, everybody who's listening, go watch Waiting. It is possibly the finest movie ever made. It is so good.
Especially if you've ever worked in a bar and or restaurant.
Oh yeah. I watched it with a buddy who worked at a Kelsey's, and he pretty much was on the floor the entire time.
Moving on. Two military articles this week. First one, National Post. Military mum on how commando allegedly walked away with $23,000 worth of gear.
Sorry, a military mother told the military about this?
Mum, M-U-M, not the British spelling of mother, but mum as in not talking.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I don't know
why would they do that then.
Well, because the National Post is trying to imply that its readership can read above a 5th grade level, and they can't and they shouldn't.
Okay, here's silent. Military silent on how commando allegedly walked away with $23K in gear.
That is not even true, because the spokesman for Kansofcom,
spokespeople,
had a statement that was released. So, like the military, the people in the military who are specifically responsible for talking to the media said things to the media. But
Maybe
I guess the National Post is just being dishonest along, as well as trying to imply that they are able to have readers above the 5th grade reading level. So, an individual, this corporal from Canadian Special Operations Forces Command out of Ottawa, has been charged with theft of over $5,000, count of possession, one count possession of prohibited or of property obtained by crime, one count of possession of a prohibitive device. Not me mispronouncing things. And one count of trafficking in stolen goods, one count of breach of trust. Everything has to go to court. The MPs are involved. Basically, there's no real detail around this yet, other than he stole rifle parts and a generator and clothing and equipment and sunglasses and a watch.
Does this guy like have any sort of affiliation with like the Veterans Hospital or anything like that? Or need any of their assistance? Because if so, he may just be trying to pay for that for a private source because we know that the government's not doing it.
We did spend all our money on gender reassignment surgery.
And they're asking for more than we can give.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, soldiers shouldn't steal things for starters, but for seconds,
Oops.
Stick
the
with the rules.
misappropriation of equipment and resources in the military has been an ongoing issue. And when the Army gives you things, and I'm sure this is true of CANSOFCOM as it is of other units in the military, when the military gives you a thing, it doesn't really matter what that thing is. There's a paper trail associated to that thing, and you become responsible for it. So I find it hard to believe that the military is losing the amount of stuff that it claims to be losing. Because, I mean, I literally signed for pens. Pens!
I did read on Facebook the other day about somebody whose unit spent 4 or 5 hours searching CFB Meaford's training area for a lost bayonet.
Well, those are
we had to.
I mean,
I freaked out once because I didn't have the cover I was supposed to use for my night sight one time, and I was like, "Where the heck is this thing?" Because I had no idea what was going to happen to me if I didn't show up at the end of my service with this little slightly padded zipper bag thing that I put it in. It was, not cool.
Well, I mean, months and months ago, we read an article that like went over all of the stuff that like the Canadian military like wrote off this year, and like they had it tracked down to like X number of thousands of tent pegs and things like that.
Snowshoes, and like a boat, wasn't it?
Yeah, like all kinds of stuff.
So this guy probably worked in logistics, because otherwise you're right, Andrew. Anything that is taken out of storage is signed for in any military, whether it's your sunglasses that are issued to you or those junky goggles that you throw in your box that you never touch because they're so scratched.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Well, didn't they?
He had to be able to write off the shit. Like,
didn't they have like when you went to the range?
There's a lot of
stories. I know a couple of stories within like the last year or so of our Canadian forces where it's maybe not nearly as strict as you guys are saying.
Well, yeah, no, like one time I was working in the armory, not in this country, but I was working in the armory, and there guys like, "Oh, here, we got a bunch of new slings. Here, take one." Handed me a sling that normally you would have signed for, but they got a whole bunch of new ones, and they're tossing out old ones. So things get lost in the shovel.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's the difference between garrison and field duty too, right? Like stuff goes out, somebody signs for it, and it goes out, and it doesn't come back, and it gets written off as a loss. And not everything that goes out for some sort of an exercise or some sort of an assignment is expected to come back. And some things get broken or damaged and get returned as a loss, right? So
this dude did stroll away with a generator, so that's
and this is where
you have a vehicle there to get that out of there. You're not walking out with that in your ruck.
That's where this particular individual, I think, is up to something. And I mean, the D&D has an issue with CANSOFCOM because CANSOFCOM has a habit of losing millions of dollars worth of equipment, but they also
that crate of hand grenades. That's nothing, Nobody even knows about that.
I'm kind of curious about the prohibitive device. If it was just a magazine or a silencer or something like that, suppressor.
Well, I'm curious what the prohibitive device is, and I would guess it's a magazine or a suppressor.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
You can make your own power.
Or selector switch, maybe. Just because
an auto sear. I don't know. I don't think an auto sear counts, but it's I guess if it's installed, maybe.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. I mean,
auto sear.
Really, it should be a prohibited device, and prohibited device really only applies to the Firearms Act. There isn't anything else in the criminal code that is a prohibited device except under the Firearms Act.
Yeah, I'm going back.
Are you really gonna spend I have this 30-round magazine? It's like, yeah, I can buy them out anywhere. They just have an aluminum rivet in it.
Right, that's why this. I don't think that this individual, if he actually committed these crimes, was a particularly good criminal. For example, who steals a generator?
Yeah. Could probably gone to any construction site and probably stole a generator that's in much better shape and probably better quality than anything than the military bought.
That was probably just for a hunting trip, and he didn't get back in time.
Yeah.
So I don't expect we'll see anything further about this. The media made their little thing. Cansoftcom doesn't know where their stuff is. Cansoftcom hasn't known where a bunch of their stuff is for a bunch of years, so I'm not super shocked about this.
Yeah.
Let's do another one.
Okay.
Calgary Herald. A Canadian soldier suspended as military investigates Calgary-based surplus stores' alleged white supremacist links. So it doesn't say this in the article, but I have a suspicion. Sorry, say that again?
Like a Taco Supreme?
No, not like a Taco Supreme. I suspect that these four members are reservists based on the fact that the one of them is Harry Long, who, well, the military won't name Mr. Long as one of the individuals in question. He is the owner of Fire Force Ventures, and he's also a religion teacher at a Calgary high school. So this leads me to believe that they are reservists, which doesn't make a huge deal of difference, but it's funny to me that the media goes out of their way to paint this as like the military is in bed with white supremacists, and it's like, no, these guys train like one night a week, one weekend a month, maybe, if they show up all the time.
Wasn't it the Globe had an article we were talking about a couple weeks ago there about how white supremacists were sneaking into the military to get at weapons or some damn thing?
Ooh.
And Rhodesian camo, apparently.
Foolproof.
Maybe that's where that generator went.
If these guys are white supremacists, they're really bad at it.
Well,
White supremacist
I'm
camo.
no expert, but does Harry Lung sound like a white supremacist to you guys? Because
He's a little Asian.
Yeah, that does sound a little...
But like,
Plus, if they are white supremacists, they're really bad at it. If their idea of supporting white supremacy is to sell Rhodesian pattern camo rather than, burning crosses and lynching black people, like, they're just not very good at it. Plus, they have an Asian guy, so
They're new. Give them a break.
why?
They're working up to the lynchings.
Why selling Rhodesian camo makes him a white supremacist? Like when lots of military surplus things, like German and World War II German.
Marty, don't you know that Rhodesia was a horrible white government country that oppressed all the black people, that made them, it had to be that to make them rise up and cause all these terrorist organizations that killed tons of white people and farmers and that doesn't sound.
And then selling red coveralls now is totally okay.
Oh,
And a related note.
Could they just
I think
Zimbabwe
actually described Zimbabwe, which coincidentally Zimbabwe actually does still use Rhodesian brushstroke camo for their self-defense force.
Even the British military still uses pretty much the exact same friggin' pattern. They've just changed the colors slightly. I mean,
That was pointed out by Mr. Lung here that the Zimbabwe still uses the same camo.
If you ever read the Salute Scouts, it really shows you what was going on at the time. Yeah.
I mean,
But whatever.
Which book was that, Benny?
The Salute Scouts. It's the original counter-terror. The little that I know of history, the original counter-terrorist group in the world. It was the Rhodesian SAS with I think they had one or two British SAS guys helping them out at the beginning, until eventually they got too big for their britches. It got too political, and then they failed. And around the time when the unit failed, that's when Rhodesia fell, or turned into Zimbabwe.
I'm pretty sure if you hear about it in the media, it's going to be billed as Mein Kampf 2. That's.
Anybody have any idea what podcast they were mentioning in the news article?
No, I don't know what this defunct neo-Nazi podcast is that they talk about, and I really wish that I did, because I'd like to find out what was actually said.
Yeah.
I'd also really like to figure out how I could play a YouTube video in the background of this so that we could hear Rhodesia Never Dies. But I can't figure out how to get the YouTube to connect to the Hangouts.
That's okay, though, because we can all be a man about that.
So, like the example of the atrocities that they're selling at this store here,
Like
the desk flags.
What do you got?
Yeah, little table flags.
Oh
This is-
God.
Think of the children.
Hey man, those shorts are really comfortable because I own a pair, and they are great to wear during pistol courses. So much freedom of movement.
You do have legs.
Something like
Anyway,
that.
I think we can all agree that this is a great big old nothing sandwich.
Oh, completely. This is a total
Well,
waste of
but-
time and
but-
resources.
Wait, I mean,
But
so if they're going to crack down on these guys, are they going to crack down on every surplus store that sells a hammer and sickle? Or like you said, like any sort of World War
I
II
hope so.
memorabilia?
If we could stop
Segway-
selling communist things,
Che Guevara shirts. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love that when somebody's wearing one of those and they're like, "I stand for personal freedom and independence."
Oh yeah.
So you
do
also
know
wanna
what
kill
that
the
guy
gays?
did, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The guy executed homosexuals, like
And
himself,
blacks.
and blacks.
Yeah. It's just why I laugh when I see that photo of Jay-Z with his t-shirt on. That he probably paid a shit ton of money for too, right? Because capitalism and Che Guevara go hand in hand.
Absolutely. The left are hilarious.
You know, the only reason I wish he was still alive is so that we could kick him out of a helicopter ourselves. Allegedly.
It's funny how none of those Che shirts have like, communism killed 100 million people and all I got was this lousy T-shirt or something. But
Oh God. Tim, I've got an idea. We'll talk later.
We'll talk later. Yeah.
all right, let's do gun stuff. We got gun
Wait.
news.
Sorry, I just want to. Gavin, did you get the yoga shorts or the short shorts?
The short shorts, not the yoga shorts.
Sure.
I'm super concerned about asking what is yoga shorts.
They're just the short shorts, but like skin tight.
So this is for
no,
Cut off
Oh,
yoga pants.
definitely no.
okay. So this is for the white supremacists who like to do yoga.
they want to show off their moose knuckle.
Yeah.
So much no.
Yeah, but I mean, I really, really love putting down my yoga mat right next to my tiki torches and getting my stuff on.
Especially wearing that hat and that jacket. I would actually pay money to watch that.
We can talk, Dave. We can talk.
I'm thinking $3.99 a minute. We'll webcam this thing. We'll talk later.
Tactical yoga.
I don't.
You can tune in at CanadianPatriotMooseKnuckle.com.
Not good.
For just $10 an episode, we won't broadcast the episode.
I might not broadcast that for free. That's terrifying. Other terrifying things. Firearm news. Article from the Red Star. Mums of shot kids want gun control, not prayer. Mother says that group launches campaign for handgun ban. So Wendy Sukier and the Coalition for Gun Control is up to their standard antics in Toronto this week. They have a 13-foot tall bullet-shaped exclamation point outside of City Hall in Toronto. Because apparently your voice is ammunition. And you should go to triggerchange.ca, which has had 600 people sign a petition as of
Holy
last
shit!
Tuesday, urging Canadians to contact their member of parliament. Hey, remember that time we had like 30,000 Canadians sign a petition to tell them to put the AR-15 on the correct restrictions list based on its technical characteristics? And the government
75.
told us down. Oh, was it 75,000?
No, it was 30 something for the AR. It was 70 something or 80,000 for the Go Piss Off C71 petition.
But at the time, it was the largest petition ever.
I think we just
So that
need
was-
to do our own. It's just like it's not for anything other than to just have them get up in front of everyone and just go, "Dear government, fuck you."
But this is Wendy Sukier though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the
Sukier
one.
is-
She was like a shoe-in to become the first female president of Brock University, but she lost that position due to workplace bullying. Is this the same Wendy Sukier?
No, it's the Wendy Sukier that has left Brock University because she didn't receive tenure following the alleged bullying.
Oh, okay.
Hey, while we're on the page, make sure we put some little vote. The results are actually kind of funny as far as you are voting on a gun ban or not.
Oh, getting destroyed.
90% saying other resources should be used to curb gun violence.
Shocking.
Like
Yeah.
common sense.
This vote will never be talked of again.
Now it's like a memory hole for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I do like this photo here because I wondered how they got this statue here. And there's all these ladies, and then I realized, oh, there's two big guys over at the right. They're probably just there to carry it.
I'm curious.
Oh,
so,
no joke. There are pictures of them doing it. So
I mean, there's that one, and then there's the other one that's got all the empty brass in it and everything. Like, so if they're allowed that shit everywhere, like, are we allowed to have pro-gun statues that go up? Like,
Well,
I mean,
what pisses me off is, all those women were looking at those guys' asses when they were putting those statues up.
no, totally. Probably whistling like crazy.
Some of the comments in this article really pissed me off. You don't use a handgun to shoot deer. Why the fuck not?
Because it's a
because
law.
they said we can't.
Guess
Because
not.
they said we
I'm
can't.
pretty sure you can use a handgun to shoot deer. You just can't do it in Ontario and legally.
You can.
Is there a province? No, I guess no province would allow handguns.
But you know what? I would love to take my Ruger #1 target model in a freaking holster for while I am deer hunting, so I could take like rabbits and shit.
So
Or
in
my Ruger Blackhawk and 41 mag.
Ontario, I
Only
know
police and military should have those.
there is no law that says you cannot hunt with a handgun. So if you happen to own an antique handgun and it meets the caliber requirements for whatever it is that you are hunting, you can legally in Ontario, I haven't checked other provinces, but I imagine they're the same. You can legally hunt with an antique handgun.
Yep.
We can't do it here. It's actually specifically says handguns here, no matter what type.
Nope. Well, BC maybe, yeah. Ontario, there is no specific thing that says handguns are prohibited. So
Actually, it does. If you read I checked it. It says you can hunt with pellet guns or air guns under 500 feet per second, but you may not hunt with handguns or fully automatic weapons.
where did it say that? That must be new. Then.
Well, there's also a
It's in
barrel
there.
length restriction in Ontario too, wasn't there? I mean, it's been a while since I hunted there, but
I didn't see that.
I haven't seen that. I mean, that must be new because previously there was no. You can't hunt or you can't not hunt with a handgun because they just assumed that it was a restricted item that could only be shot at a gun range. But
No,
there
it says
are-
it right in there. You can't hunt with handguns or fully automatics, which I find amusing.
Yeah.
But you can hunt with a pellet gun. It mentions that specifically, and I know a bunch of guys who
Yeah,
carry
what about-
pellet handguns at like
Yeah.
499 FPS this year for birds.
yeah, that's stupid. But I guess they must have changed that recently because I know a bunch of people that have looked into that and have gone handgun hunting in Ontario with
That's probably why they changed it.
yeah.
They're penetrating the bureaucracy.
Somebody was having fun. Stop this.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have had a handgun for dispatch this year.
Well, you just got to make sure that it's a pellet gun that's just below that level.
Well, getting away from random pellet gun hunting things and back to the article. If I can try and wrangle this back in, I wanted to talk about the idea that we should ban the guns because that's what the mother of some victims says we should do, and I'm not sure about the hunting laws, but I'm very sure of the other firearms laws in our country, and I don't think you can just randomly go around carrying, using, or owning handguns unless you have a permit from the government. So I should like to know where all these people in Toronto that are getting shot, the people doing the shooting, where are they getting their permits?
I applied to an ATD to go to a mass shooting. The government said no. It was very upsetting. So I just stayed home. And
That's good for you for being law abiding and following that and not going and doing it anyways.
Take a shot.
Yeah. I commend you, Dave.
We got to ban Toronto.
I would not have a problem with that.
Banning Toronto does.
I do find it amusing in this article that Ms. Sukier says that there's 300,000 legally owned handguns in 2015, 2005. Now there's almost 1 million, and if we wait longer, there will be 2 million. So in other words, you have more and more people getting into shooting, more and more gun owners following the laws that she set out, and she's upset with it. And because people are following her rules, they're a threat to public safety, and we must be afraid.
She didn't set up very good rules in the first place, because circling guns in a scary gun magazine is not a good way to form firearms laws, it turns out.
So somebody posted this on the Facebook. I can't remember who it is, so I can't give them credit. But it kind of went over this whole thing. Is like, the government sets the rules for us to have them. They're the ones that build the curriculum and make us take the course, and all of this and that, and basically everything that we have to jump through in terms of the fiery hoops, they've set out. So if there's a shortcoming somewhere, it's in the stupid regulations that they've made up, or the lack of enforcing them, not on the gun owners themselves. Like, they're the ones to blame for all of the people that sort of fall through the cracks and are able to get guns illegally, because they built the system.
Well, this is the problem with the entire thing, is it's the illegal guns. It's not people that have pals and have gone through the hoops and have taken the courses and follow the laws.
It's not us.
Yeah, right. Because that's the thing. If there were 1 million legal handguns in Canada, if handguns were a problem, you wouldn't have 45 people being shot in Toronto. You would have everyone being shot in Toronto, because if anything deserves to be shot, it's in Toronto.
I can't reach from here. Yeah, we've recently seen like a couple of large possessions or seizures of illegal handguns at transport at the border. There was the woman with the fake gas tank. She had like 20 or 30 pistols in it. Yeah, and then there's someone with a false pack in a vehicle with like 20 handguns in the back of there. So,
well, I mean,
and you think about that, they're maybe catching 5% of the guns coming over the border. So you want to know where the guns are coming from. There's the truth of it. I spend almost every weekend during the year, every second weekend at the range with dozens of people with handguns and AR-15s and all sorts of nasty assault weapons and sometimes full autos. And guess how many of those people have ever committed a serious crime? Fuck all.
Well, I mean, just look at this panel right here, right? Like, I mean, hunting season kind of just opened. So in the last, we'll say, month, how many people on this panel have gone hunting? So you've been out in public with your gun. I go
out in public every day with my gun, but I don't go hunting.
Well, they're just not. We're also driving and transporting our guns, like
No, but I came face to face with guys with guns as well. Like I was just out hunting. I went face to face with other armed individuals, and nobody got shot. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I've had arguments at the range that got rather heated, and nobody ever gets shot.
Marty, you've been out hunting recently, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us on the panel that have been out in the last month in public with loaded guns, and not a single person committed a mass shooting, shot themselves, or even a single other person, or committed a crime.
Hell, I never even shot.
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. I mean, I did, but it was at some empty beer cans that we drank the night before.
Okay.
Yeah, and the problem is, like was pointed out, if gun owners were a problem, there wouldn't be any non-gun owners to complain about the problem. They would all be freaking dead. So you've got 2.5 million people in Canada. Like math itself just proves that this is bullshit, like real statistics. If this was an actual problem, you've got 2.5 million people that own guns, probably double that actually own guns peaceably, if you consider all the good old boys who don't have their pals. And you've got probably 10 to 20 million guns in Canada, and you get 200 people shot in Toronto. So what? That's the city of 3 million people. That's a statistical outlier.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a newspaper article a few years ago where they showed all the PAL holders in Ontario, Southern Ontario, and it had like dots throughout the countryside, 0 dots in Toronto, yet that's where all the shootings are. And so, like, basically, the illegal PAL holders aren't the problem. Clearly, it's just people that didn't have guns on the books.
Yeah, but this, here's this, like, no one's listening to a statistical argument. Not the other side, not the general public. Like, no one's listening to us saying, well, statistically, it's like that. Like,
no, because you sound cold-hearted.
It's a losing argument.
My wife pointed out to me when a relative of mine posted a comment about mass shootings, and she was like, she was hysterical. She called me a far right wing fascist, which I found amusing because I brought logic into the conversation, and my wife said, "Well, your mistake was trying to use logic in a discussion." That's what my wife actually said to me.
Yeah, their feelings don't care about your facts.
Yeah.
Well, basically, if you argue with their point, you're happy with the kids dying in downtown Toronto, basically. So yeah, it's purely emotional.
That's the thing, right? How can you own these weapons that kill people? Blah 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 blah. And I don't get emotionally
Some
attached.
guns right over there, and none of them. I haven't got a single stateside kill with mine.
Yeah, well, I better turn in my car and all of my alcohol then, because those things kill a lot more people than guns.
How can you? Yeah. How can you be disarmed? Just like yeah. That was a good point, though.
I better cut off my hand too, because there's a lot of people that get choked to death.
Yeah.
But like,
we should all move to BC so we could get our man bits taken off so we don't rape nobody. We need to get that lower surgery adjustment.
Well, if it saves just one rape.
Yeah.
No, but okay, guys, you go ahead.
Population. If using facts and logic is clearly not working, they're not listening to that. So what is the alternative? Like, how do we?
Well, and the problem is we can't get emotional about it, because if I get upset about gun stuff and I start saying, well, fuck you, you feel good to own guns, well, then I'm a monster. That's
and you're getting a call.
It makes me feel good. Guns are bad, but I can't use that argument because then I'm a horrible person.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So you argue from logic, and then you're cold, and you're cold-hearted, and you don't care about the children. I mean, there's a line at the bottom of here from Wendy Suk here. Says, to me, it's come down to what do we value, our assault weapons and handguns or our children's lives? For me, that choice is really clear. Well, it's not an either or. Like, I don't know a single gun owner, and this pisses me off because it's like, oh, you're a monster, you don't care about this. I don't know a single gun owner. Most of the gun owners I know have kids. They love their kids. They pay their taxes. They're good people. They live a life like anybody else. They just happen to have a hobby where they shoot. And that somehow makes them a terrible human who doesn't care about other people.
One could also argue that you could use the same things to save children's lives.
Absolutely, except not in Canada. But
theoretically.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
I definitely don't have enough arms and ammunition for my entire family should I need to protect my children. Allegedly.
I'm good.
I think I only have one gun, actually.
The low end of the CDC stats in the States is, I think, 3 million lives are saved every year with a firearm.
In reported incidents, which is, I think, a much lower number than reality.
Right, because someone just brandishes a firearm and that deterred a crime, or someone even just started reaching for one.
Yeah.
Well, even in Canada, I know a lot of people that have saved their lives with assorted weapons, not necessarily maybe firearms, and sometimes allegedly against two-legged predators, and you don't call the cops.
Well, think about it, though. Like, everyone deserves a fair shot at defending their life and their family's lives.
Yeah, and
that's all that Wendy Suk here and the gun grabbers are doing, is removing that chance. Like, they're removing that edge that you would have if someone were to assault your house, even though statistically that's like unlikely to happen. But like I said,
that argument decades ago.
Statistically, it's unlikely that I'm going to have my house catch on fire, but I still have fucking fire extinguishers.
Yeah, that's the argument I use. Why would you like to carry a gun? Why would I have a fire alarm?
Yeah. But we had gun control and many laws in place during the Danforth shooting. Like, it's illegal to commit murder. It's illegal to transport a handgun. It's illegal to acquire a handgun and like without a license and stuff like that. And none of that stopped the Danforth shooter. And like I always say, firearms.
That guy survived? I never remember.
Gun.
Hard to keep track.
No.
Yeah, I wonder how his brother's doing. His brother's like out from handling Carfentanil.
All of the fentanyl.
Yeah. All 45 pounds of it or whatever it was. Yeah.
Kilograms.
Just hurting his
Yeah,
life.
he's in a coma, not from using not from any kind of a dosing of the carfentanil, just from it being in the same residence as him. The amount of carfentanil they had, just from like random trace exposure from being in the same residence, put him into a coma.
Yeah, but their father says that the shooter was schizophrenic.
Yeah.
No, wasn't that proven to be written by someone else?
Oh yeah, probably. I'm just saying, like,
Written by their lawyer, I think, wasn't it? There was something weird about
No,
that.
it was some group.
Spokesman.
I think it ended up being their. He's a spokesman for a group, but I think he's also their lawyer or something. I don't know.
I'm just saying. Your son has 30 stolen handguns, all in 40 caliber and 42 kilograms of carfentanil. I don't really care what you say.
Yeah, I mean, who has guns in 40 cal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, seriously. Why did they even make that?
Glocks.
Yeah, who makes? Why would you make anything in 40 cal? That's stupid.
Maybe the OPP needed more.
Yeah.
40 such terrible caliber.
I was surprised to see how many police departments use 40 cal in Canada.
That's because despite the evidence of most of the rest of the world happily using 9mm to kill each other for the last 100 years, North Americans, a lot of them that I know, have this strange idea that 9mm like bounces off squirrels. So you need something better.
Because one time the FBI wrote a thing where 9mm didn't penetrate windshields properly in the 80s because of some nonsense with rounds that are no longer manufactured. Because what was that? That was like talons. Was it black talons or something? It's like
some of those. They're going to rip you apart if you get hit with one. And
it's like a type of hollow point that's not even manufactured anymore.
Okay.
Only for law enforcement. I have a box of them somewhere. I remember the ads from the anti-gun group showing them that when they went into, I can't remember what they shot them into, but they like opened up like this massive clawed thing and it would rip through body armor and they made them sound like they were anti-personnel rounds out of a cannon. It was funny.
Anyway, at some point, if you're listening to my drunken ramblings, you should go and read about the FBI shootout in Miami, which is the thing about why the FBI decided to use the 10mm or the 40 caliber because they couldn't use the 10mm. No, because the 40 short and weak was developed off the 10mm because the 10mm would have actually worked, and the 40 is like a weird compromise round because they couldn't actually use the 10mm. And this is because suspects with body armor in an armed robbery got into a shootout with local FBI agents, and that's why North American law enforcement agencies use 40. It doesn't make any sense.
Those guys
I'm far too inebriated to articulate it effectively.
Yeah, those guys had body armor and AKs, and they were getting hit with like 38 specials, and like the cops basically had pump shotguns with buckshot and like 38 specials.
Yep. Most unfortunate.
All right, let's do another unfortunate thing. I'm going to make fun of Vahan Kohalanin.
Go ahead.
I don't. Anyway, this guy gets like the douchebag of the week awards. It is pronounced idiot. We must criminalize gun possession in Canada. And apparently, Vahan is the chairman of the Mosaic Institute, which I was not aware of was a thing until I read this article.
It sounds very diverse.
Oh, it's man, it's super diverse. That's literally the beginning sentence on their about
mosaic of people, if you will.
Wait. I was going to Google this. Are you going to save me that from doing that?
Yeah. I'm on their about page. Their about page has a woman in a hijab as like their title thing, and their About Us page reads, "The Mosaic Institute believes that Canada's diversity is not a problem to be solved, but rather the solution to many of Canada's and the world's social conflicts. The Mosaic Institute promotes dialogue among diverse communities in entrenched historic conflict to advance peace at home and abroad." That's their entire About Us page. I don't know what the fuck these people stand for.
Everything and nothing all at the same time. I believe.
Yeah, a whole lot of nothing. Their tagline is "Difference is the solution."
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no.
no.
Homicide
The whole-
rate in Japan is very low. Japan has a very, very low homicide rate.
The whole Canadian like multicultural that you're supposed to share. You're not supposed to like have like Chinatown and no one outside of Chinatown in Chinatown is not Chinese. No. You have Chinatown, but when you go to you happen to have hot dogs as well. You don't just eat your squid or whatever. The whole multiculturalism isn't a bunch of multiple cultures living in your country. You're supposed to be accepting of everyone, but everyone's supposed to be accepting of everyone else and include their culture in their own.
I would like it if people that lived in Canada acted like Canadians.
Okay,
That
I
would
just
be my
translated
preference.
I translated the about page into English, and this is what I got. Okay, I ran it through the translator. The Mosaic Institute believes that Canada's diversity is not a problem to be solved, but rather a club to attack our enemies with politically.
Nice.
The no lies detected. I ran it through the lie detector.
Yeah.
It came
Yeah.
out.
Sounds about right.
They're a far left think tank.
We have more diversity than you, therefore
Unthink tank.
go
I believe
away.
it.
So I don't care for this Japan statistic because I mean, first off, we're only looking at firearm homicides in Japan versus in Canada.
We're
Which-
also looking at a super, super, super homogenous society.
Which,
Very
yeah,
xenophobic.
we have a lot more diversity than they do in Japan. We also happen to not be a fucking island. We happen to
Yeah.
have the largest undefended border with the most heavily armed country in the world. But
Also,
hey, why let facts get in the way of your perfectly good argument?
Right?
Yeah,
Everything
you're-
is possible in Trump's America.
They
Here's
have a
the
lower
thing.
suicide rate.
already.
When they look at Japan, if you look at Japan's homicide rate, period, they're pretty low. I mean, their homicide rate is 0.28 per 100,000, right?
That's because everyone
But
knows kung fu.
That's super
Yeah,
low.
It's not. It is very low, but it's not just guns. It's everything. So the implication is, oh well, if there's no guns, then there's no homicide. But then
Well,
why do they
and-
have such a high suicide rate? Which is the other side of the argument that they always bring up. Right?
And
Their
that's why I'm
suicide
bringing up
rate
this
is
false
crazy high.
dichotomy with the firearms homicide rate because looking at only the firearms homicide is disingenuous.
What is?
Because they have
Firearms homicide rate between completely different cultures in completely different parts of the world is disingenuous. When you look at the homicide rate, yeah, the 0.005 firearm homicide rate per 100,000 people in Japan is much more in line with their very small. It's 0.02 people or 0.02 per 100,000.
Yeah,
I'm,
for the
I'm
just
curious
like the
though.
flat homicide.
What the homicide rate for katana swords is, because I hear that's the weapon of choice for the Yakuza.
Article.
Yeah,
one of
they
the
made a
constitu-
movie about it.
didn't they get like banned in the 30s?
No, actually, earlier than
50s?
that, like the Article 1 of the Constitution prohibits the personal ownership of swords and firearms. And so, unless you're rich, basically, you theoretically can't own a sword there either.
But that's fairly common with very, very strict, very controlling societies. They don't want, and they're a feudal society, right? So they've never had a society where the peasants, the commoners, would have weapons because you rise up against your lords and F them up. Not like North America where we had, the frontier where you had to defend yourself and you had to hunt and you had, freedom and independence. And you
Yeah,
could
but-
take care of
Yeah,
yourself.
and you had to
Japan-
keep the King of England out of your
Yeah,
way.
but Japan also had a brutal feudal system for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Well, exactly. You don't
Yeah.
want the peasants owning weapons.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at other murder statistics from countries fairly close to them, North Korea, 4.4. You can't own guns in North Korea. Why is their murder rate so high?
I'm pretty sure you can't own bread either.
No, food is, yeah. It's like food. Some people just don't get it. Yeah, but there's lots of countries where you cannot own guns, period, full stop. And they have quite high murder rates. So,
It's
cherry picking, Venezuela,
Mexico.
Guinea, cherry picking
Yeah.
statistics like that is horseshit. Like, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Talking
Yeah.
about cherry picking statistics, how do you like this one? The sheer numbers of guns available enables crimes to occur. Canada has the second highest rate of gun possession in the developed world at 34.7 guns per 100 people, compared to the UK's 5.03. Are we not including America as part of the developed world anymore? Because they have 120 guns per 100 people.
Well, you can't just draw a chart. If you actually take the number of guns versus the number of people and then stick murder on that chart, there's no correlation.
Switzerland is the
Right?
one
Like,
that
that's
always
what, like-
is used to turn they have very high rates of firearms ownership and very low homicide rates.
So do the Nordic countries, but they have extremely high suicide rates because no sun. But
How they
Well,
get
that's-
around
that's-
is when they make these statistics is that Switzerland doesn't count because it's not civilian ownership of the guns. The guns are owned by the state. And so they say that the civilian ownership of firearms in Switzerland is 0.
Okay, the majority, yeah, but they're taking a fact and they're using the side that they like. The fact that they don't like is that the guns that they own are full auto capable, and they still have a low suicide
and they're kept in the average person's home, not central storage. And potentially there could be like your grandfather's rifle that he was issued, your father's rifle, and yours all in the same safe in your house.
Yeah.
they also have a high sense of civic responsibility over there in a totally different culture. So to me, the murder rate and all this stuff they talk about, it's a cultural thing. It's not guns. I mean, if it's guns, and I had this argument with somebody a little while ago. They said, well, I'm really scared of guns. I said, when you see a police officer walk by, do you run in fear in the other direction? Do you dial 911?
Yeah.
How do you handle that? Because they're carrying a gun. So, I mean, they're going to murder you at any moment. Like,
or what do you see a Brinks truck roll by?
Yeah.
To be fair, every time I see a Brinks truck roll by, I go, God, you guys are super bad at 360-degree security. I could take your truck and all your firearms and everything else that you have because none of you are paying attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah, I pretty much roleplay Heat and every other awesome movie, like when things like that happen. But
the people who are against guns, who say, "Oh, I'm afraid of guns," and I did that, like they what they can't comprehend is like, let's say they do something as simple as going for a walk around the block. Okay, give them a gun. Would they then just kill people?
Yeah,
obviously.
I've had that argument too. I took people to range who were very anti-gun, and when we got home, I said, "Did you feel like murdering anyone?" Well, no. Why would anyone else?
Yeah. What's wrong with you then?
Yeah. What makes you think you're special?
Clearly, the guns
doing it right. These are only made for murdering people. Why did you not murder people? Yeah. Come on.
That's to be the number one argument, though. Is these people are projecting their violent fantasies on us?
Well,
where
I don't even know if it's violent fantasies. I think it's more just fear of the other.
That's
right. And a lot of people who they're really like about other people. I mean, how do they drive down the street? The person.
But that is one theory, Benny. You are right. Like people will say that. Like they're just projecting how they think, like their lack of control onto. Therefore, everyone must have this lack of control. I know I like to fly into a violent rage. They think so. Then why doesn't everyone else with a gun? Like, oh, was I ever mad that day? I hope no one who owns a gun gets that mad. It doesn't add up.
But if they had a gun, would they actually kill someone? No,
they wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't.
In fact, like what I find is when you own a gun.
No, because if they fired it once, they'd get PTSD.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. It's like a bazooka. But if you owned a gun, in fact, I believe
rifle for a reason.
Yeah, what I like to say is like the Spider-Man thing is just like with great power comes great responsibility. And when you have the tool that takes someone's life from a distance easily, you don't get angry at the first place. Like, you don't allow yourself to even get angry to the point where like you're going to yell or like push or hit someone. It's just because we know what the end game would be. If you took this out to the ultimate conclusion, it'd be like a jail term.
Yeah, very early on in my licensing part of my life, I was at a wedding. Some guy was mouthing off, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you want to go outside?" I'm like, "No, it's not worth it for me to go outside and even think about beating you up, because if something happens, if I beat you up, which I probably could, irrelevant though, because cops will get called, I get charged with assault, there goes my firearm license."
Yeah, exactly.
Not worth my time.
But people without guns are free to go out there and say, "Do you want to fight about it?"
Yeah, because they have nothing to lose. knows? And
Yeah.
I mean, how many people on on this panel have ever pointed their gun at something, even a target at range, and not thought about where that bullet was going?
Oh, probably six of us.
Maybe.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
It's a good question, though. I
Yeah.
like where you're going with it.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Now, did we talk about the three suggestions that the Mosaic Institute gave, the three recommendations?
No, but I was looking for a good way to pivot to that, so thank you for bringing it up. That's a great point. Let's the first one. Classify any gun not listed as non-restricted, restricted, or prohibited as restricted.
But there's no gun that's not classified as those.
But wait, there's more. Currently, any gun not listed as classified as non-restricted in the Canadian Criminal Code. This essentially legalizes undocumented firearm possessions.
Fuck yeah.
So if I have a
This should
firearm
be
that hasn't
added
been
as an amendment
classified
to Bill
yet,
71. I don't.
Well, that
What?
brings me back to the actual article, the actual title of the article. Gun possession is already criminalized in Canada. He doesn't seem to realize that.
Right, like
My
Captain Jackass over here. What's his name? Vahan Koliolian?
Idiot.
Something like that?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Idiot.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Idiot doesn't know what our current gun laws are because what?
Yeah, interpretation
Guns
of
are classified
that-
based on their classification. Like that.
Yeah.
The
It-
fuck?
yeah.
Hold on. If there's a thing that says if it's undocumented, we get to keep it, I'm calling up Mike from Canmore right this minute because
hell yeah.
This is this is
What the
the
fuck is an undocumented firearm?
well. This
maybe
is
maybe it's like
Firearms are
irregular
documented.
migrants.
this is the goddamn Globe and Mail, and like I'm remembering back to like grade 5 and 6 English class, for Christ's sakes, and the teacher said, "Write about what you know." This guy should not have touched pen to paper with this shit. There's so much stuff
So
here.
here's the funny, the
What-
great about
Can anyone-
this whole thing. Terms
Can anyone-
of it.
Yeah, but can you think of something that isn't a firearm that becomes a firearm if you use it in a crime? I can.
the only thing I can think is that this guy, somebody explained the FRT table to him and realized that, like, well, if there's no FRT entry for this firearm yet, then it's not any of them, and therefore it's legal.
Well, it
That's
would be
yeah.
not.
This
That's
guy's
not
thinking.
how that works, though.
Yeah, but there are things like I'm saying. He's wrong, and not only that, he's extra wrong because there are things like a pellet gun is a pellet gun. If you use it in a crime, or if you use a replica firearm in a crime, it becomes legally a firearm with right, like how you get charged. Like
So
Yeah.
not only is he wrong, he is also stupid.
stupid wrong.
Yeah.
Stupid wrong. All right, second thing. Creating a special buyback fund for firearms. Australia in 1996 instituted a buyback
I
program
believe
through
it's
the National
pronounced
Firearms Agreement. This initiative bought over 650,000 firearms for approximately $230 million, removing them permanently from circulation. There was a dramatic reduction in gun violence after the buyback scheme.
Bullshit.
Well, okay, so yes, Australia has not had any more mass shootings since their gun buyback program, but you also can't buy a great number of firearms as a result of that, and they have a highly regulated licensing and ownership system as a result. Not because of the buyback, but because of other things that were implemented at the same time as the buyback. Things that made it much
They also
harder.
changed the criteria of what is considered a mass shooting and what isn't.
Yeah, I don't think
Thanks,
that they have had a reduction in mass shootings, and they implemented I watched a video on this. They implemented that at the peak of a shooting trend, after which it was went back to normal.
Right. And under the old system of statistics, it would have gone it was already trending.
Down.
They'd hit
yeah.
apogee and they were trending back down as it was.
Yeah.
On
it
top
was-
of that,
Yeah. So what you're
Like
saying
the
is
rest of the world,
yeah.
mostly.
correlation does not mean causation.
And was there a dramatic
that is
overall
exactly where I'm
violence?
going with that. Correlation is not causation because they implemented a bunch of other laws. They changed how they measured the statistics, and they were already trending downward based on the original stats.
But this was years ago. I looked into
But if
the
you look at
Australia
it,
thing.
bludgeonings and knifings have gone up.
Yeah,
dramatically.
and immolations, like assaults, immolations, bludgeonings with blunt objects.
Yeah.
Like crime, murders and crime stayed pretty well constant. But firearms, yeah, they're right. You remove that
Yeah.
from from that.
And I
So
bet
yeah,
you know what?
instead of-
Even if you looked, the suicide rates have probably stayed about the same too, because that's another statistic people like to throw in with gun deaths. They throw that in,
Probably-
and that's 2/3 of the gun
Yeah.
deaths is usually suicide. But
Well,
as soon as you like
2000.
restrict that, as people don't have access to it,
yeah,
so it's
Yeah.
like, oh, gun deaths have gone down, but then you go, yeah, but death
That
by
would be-
pills or by hanging yourself or by jumping off a building or whatever have gone
that would
up.
be interesting. Yeah, to look at
In
that
comparison, yeah.
UK and Australia, that would be interesting because that's recent.
And
I'm
the only
looking-
reason
Yeah.
Australia did this is because they actually had property rights. I mean, if they didn't have property rights, they wouldn't have actually spent the money to buy these back.
I'm looking
Yeah.
at a chart right now, and they introduced their law there. What, 98?
I thought it was
Yeah.
96.
96.
You know where
Yeah.
sadly doesn't have property law?
Yeah, Canada.
Canada?
I'm looking
Yeah.
at a chart of their homicide rate by various means, and guns were actually always pretty low. They're like 14% of homicides anyway.
As they are pretty
But
much everywhere.
96 had a product thing was up about 40 over the year. And then they had a decline all the way to a gradual trickle up again. But murders with no weapon went like insane, like right that year, and just spiked, went crazy.
Yeah.
And
'Cause you don't,
knives
like-
went up too.
Yeah,
So-
because you don't get the guy that like comes home and like catches like his neighbor banging his wife and grabs his one legally owned firearm and shooting him. Like that goes out the window because that guy doesn't have a gun anymore.
Yeah, so
But you
he's
know what he
got-
does have a shitload of?
Kitchen,
Kitchen knives.
Yeah,
His bare hands.
fruit
Yeah.
knives.
Yeah. These
Cricket
guys
bat.
right here,
They love
fucking
fruit.
vicious. Yeah.
They love fruit.
Yeah, and that's the thing that pisses me off, and it annoys me when I look at stuff like this. It was like when Toronto brought in they spent, I can't remember how much money they spent, but on that one big bridge they have there with the train underneath it, people were jumping off it, so they spent all this money and put suicide barriers
Don
up along the
Valley.
side. That's the one. They put the suicide barriers up. Well, I stand on the bridge and I'm talking with a buddy. I'm like, what the hell are these things? He's like, suicide barriers. I'm like, why don't the bridges on either side of it have them? And he's like, I don't know, politicians.
Yeah.
They spent
Yeah.
all the money. So you can go, hey,
Yeah, everyone was jumping off that bridge. Yeah,
Yeah.
not
exactly.
the other one.
But now the politician can go, hey, look, there's no suicides from this bridge. Mission accomplished. We did a good thing. Well, did your overall rate decline? Well, no. Well, then you didn't do
Yeah.
anything. But
Well,
that's
that's like-
cherry picking statistics.
That's like just a quick aside. In the city I live in, Owen Sound, like you can get a fine of several $100s if you have an unfenced pool that's over 24 inches deep. Yet the city has like dozens and dozens of kilometers of river running all the way through it.
Yeah. And probably has like splash pads and everything that are like
Yeah.
deep enough for someone to drown in, but
We
aren't.
got, we're on Georgian Bay. We have like kilometers of shoreline.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, third and final point.
That they can buy our guns back for $350 a piece.
no.
No, my guns are worth significantly more than that. They are not military
Yeah.
grade. They are much better.
And I have a feeling if they try a gun back now, like this isn't what it was in 1993, right? You're not going to, I know people who got told to come into the police station because we need to inspect your gun, and they just got handed a chit that said, fuck off. You're not getting your gun back. That stuff isn't going to happen today. And you're probably going to get a lot of people these days that are just going to say, you know what? Screw you. I can really, not like an American type, but a lot of people will just quietly not do anything and just civilly disobedience them. And
In a very polite
Right, so-
Canadian way.
Yeah.
So Tony Bernardo wrote an
Take off,
article in Caliber magazine that was along the lines of, if they come for our guns, you're going to get that person who's going to flip out and shoot back. And I was thinking about it, and
Hey, how you doing?
we're the most law-abiding citizens. How many gun owners do you know, like not this circle, but most of the gun owners I know would be like, well, I don't want to lose all my guns, so I'm going to, follow the law because that's what I do,
Yep.
kind of thing.
I
And-
don't associate with those gun owners.
According to the government, I don't own any guns.
do you know how many people I've run into who I'll be just chatting with them randomly and about one thing or another, and they've got FN files that aren't registered, right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly ran into them.
Do
But
they need a pair of Rhodesian camo short shorts?
Yes,
If so,
everyone needs roadie short shorts. Everyone.
But we're Canada. I mean, people are not going to march in their streets with the guns and get arrested. Some people will make a big point out of it, but most people won't. They'll just politely their gun will just disappear and it'll sit in
I
a
think
safe.
there's a difference.
Made an example of.
There's a difference between the government going, we're banning guns, everybody turn them in, and not actively coming to your door to take them, like recently happened in the US. Right? Like if they just say, everyone of your own free will, and we're going to trust you, just turn them in, no one's fucking doing that. The minute you start doing Gestapo-style raids on people's houses is the minute that bullets start flying both ways.
Yeah, and they'll have to eventually. Well, what they'll actually do is what they did with the registry, where they just say whatever number gets turned in is like 90% compliance, and they'll just leave it at that. So it's complete bullshit, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like if it's just a regulation that like never truly gets enforced, then nothing will happen. But I mean, there'll be a lot of people that maybe turn in their restricted firearms and go, here you go, this is everything I've got. But, you know, their shotguns and their hunting rifles and any antique handguns or, you know, BCLs, SLRs, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. 8.58
Simonovs.
Yeah. That just, I don't have any of that stuff. All I had was this one handgun.
I could see a lot of people doing that, and then once in a while they'll catch somebody and they'll just make a huge example of them for no reason.
No, I think that's exactly what will happen.
Same as what they do in Britain right now. You know, once in a while they catch some 70-year-old who has like 50 machine guns and treat him like he's Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 50 machine guns. He didn't share any with me.
Exactly. Bastard.
I mean, sure, he stole them all from Nazis.
Yeah.
It's not really stolen when it's a trophy. But third and final point, ratification of the United Nations Firearms Protocol. Canada signed on but not ratified the protocol, which seeks to control the illicit arms trade. Out of the 125 countries, only 10 have not ratified. Well, I'm not sure that's actually how that treaty works, but okay, sure. But what does putting the country of origin, year of importation, and country of import do to control the illicit arms trade?
Any more than a cereal would.
My BCL says Ontario, Canada 2017 on it, so I can no longer trade it to drug dealers in Colombia because they'll know it came from Canada.
Yeah, it's funny. Most guns already have
NEA
the
on the
serial
sign
number
doesn't give that away.
origin.
Sorry, PCL.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a serial number on it. Call the manufacturer.
Because I couldn't figure out that NEA that they found in Turkey was from Canada.
Maybe they kept getting hit in the head with the charging handles. They couldn't actually read the serial number.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, they're not even entirely sure that those are firearms because they don't actually shoot anything.
Maybe they changed the bolt.
And everything, every other component. But yeah, it's. I mean, the only thing that it stops you from doing is potentially engraving Mulan labia on it, because there's no room to engrave it because there's already other numbers and things that are on there that.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, if I was talking to somebody about that, and they're like, "Yeah, you know, we put it on it, not a big deal." I'm like, "Well, if I'm taking the serial number off it, I'm just going to take the stupid 2017 thing off it too. I mean, come on."
Well, yeah, and a lot of those are laser engraved as opposed to like a serial number that's actually like struck into it or, you know, engraved much deeper. Like in those laser engravings, like a little bit of sandpaper, even shit, just painting over it is going to cover that up so that nobody can read it.
Oh, come on. No one's going to break the law, Gavin.
Yeah, that'd be illegal. Come on, they're sitting at the border going, "Oh man, I was going to trade all these AK-47s, but now they've got the date on them, man."
Fuck yeah.
Bummer.
That's right. If it's not a second gen AK, it's not worth it because those were the best ones. Allegedly.
Let's move on. We have no rapid fire feedback. but I do have this random cassette tape that I found.
Well, hold on. Before we do that, do you want to
Next
talk
day.
about where Benny and I were last Monday? Are we going to do that
Okay.
on the show?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, let's do that.
I'll let Gavin do all the talking again.
Let's get at it.
So Benny and I were busy last Monday. That's why we couldn't be on the panel. So there was a meeting with the Jewish Defense League in Toronto based on the shootings that we've already talked about kind of in Pittsburgh and kind of the reaction, because they used that weird photo in an article for Toronto about the thing. Anyways, and rightfully so, the people of the Jewish community in Toronto are a little bit perturbed about some of the stuff that's been going on, because literally that morning there were 2 kids, I think, that got previous night they got beat up.
A couple of kids were surrounded by, I think they said about 11 or 10 people, and they were attacked with bottles or whatnot. And I think they arrested 10 or 9, whatever the case was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the Jewish community globally as a whole is kind of on alert, and then Toronto even more so because of that, decided to have a meeting where they wanted to discuss legal firearms ownership and training. So I figured I would attend, given that it was local to me, and didn't announce that I was going to be there or anything. My amazing, wonderful girlfriend Angela was like, "Yeah, I'll come with you." So we drove out there, and we were hoping to go and get some dinner beforehand, but traffic was garbage. So we ended up getting there too late to grab something to eat, but before the meeting started. So we kind of just pulled into the parking lot of the place and decided to have some of the salami that I had in my trunk, because that's how I roll. So we're sitting in my car eating delicious land Jaeger sausages and such.
Trunk
And
salami.
then, yeah. And Angela turns to me and goes, "There's somebody behind the car." I'm like, "Meh." She's like, "There's 2 people behind the car now." I'm like, "All right." And then I see like a flash from a camera phone. So I'm like, "All right." Open the door, get out of the car. And I'm like, "Can I help you guys?" And they're like, "Well, we were just about to ask you the same thing." I was like, "Well, I'm here for the meeting. We just got here early, so I'm having a snack in my car. Like, I didn't think that it was open
trunk
yet."
salami.
Yeah.
Trunk salami, mazel tov.
Anyways, I introduced myself, and apparently my reputation preceded me in this instance. So like, "Oh, it's you. You're okay. Just come on in." So I'm like, "All right." So I go back in the car. I grab Angela and I grab some of my crap, and we head into the hall. So we're kind of hanging around and talking, and I pulled my med kit and some other stuff and brought it with me, because I figured that if anyone wants to know the stuff that's really going to help when there's an instance, it's medical stuff, right? So I start talking to a couple of the guys, and then like the organizer comes over. I start talking to him. I introduce myself and give him my credentials and all that, and say, I'm an instructor with Ragnarok Tactical and this and that, and that's why I'm here. And he's like, "Oh, cool. Like, we got a guy coming that's from the IDF, and he's going to be the guy that we talk to and this and that." And anyways, about 2 minutes before the meeting starts, which is about 10 minutes after it should have, they call me over. Yeah, they call me over, and they're like, "So the guy that was in the IDF is not coming tonight. Do you mind talking?" I was like, "Not a problem at all." So the organizer gets up and maybe talks for 2 minutes tops, and then basically hands the floor over to me. So I basically had a group of, I don't know, what would you say, 20, 30 people or so?
20 people.
Some of which were legal firearms owners, some of which had absolutely zero clue as to how any of this works whatsoever. And I spent the next, hour and a half maybe entertaining their random questions on firearms ownership and the ability to legally defend yourself or not. I had to let them know multiple times that I was not a lawyer and none of this was actual legal advice. But
Gavin told us to do it.
yeah. I said I'd be more than happy to show them how to shoot guns and do this and that and everything else. But really, like, the biggest thing that you can learn is medical stuff. But then they kept wanting to learn about guns and ask about, how do I get a gun? Could we designate a guy to hang out in the parking lot with a gun? I was like, no, you can't do that. We're trying to explain the laws. And I was like, if you get a gun license, your name gets run through a computer every day and you have a background check. And that kind of blew their minds. So there was a large...
after the
Go on, yeah.
No matter what their opinion was before going into this about guns and whatever, like, it made me apprehensive. Like, as soon as they realized what legal gun owners have to go through, you could clearly tell in the room that people were not, like, they were amazed by what we had to go through.
Yeah.
So,
and absolutely outraged that they couldn't have a single person designated as security. And I was like, I mean, you can hire private security, but even then, like, they're not going to be able to carry a gun on site because you're not a bank or some other institution that needs armed guards. Like, they'll have flashlights and radios and stuff like that. But like, that's
a big bag of gold.
Yeah.
You can still do paid duty with the OPP.
Yeah, but even then, like, I mean, those are kind of their, like, they don't really have an option, as most listeners know, because we've discussed this many, many, many times. In Canada, you really don't have the ability to defend yourself, especially when you're out in public. And a lot of them were kind of angry about that and angry about the government. So if nothing else, I think I opened a bunch of people's eyes to the garbage of the government. So I've hopefully red-pilled a few people and are now going to get them to vote correctly. Hopefully Ragnarok is now going to be running some classes on Sundays that we don't serve pulled pork at, specifically Tavur classes. And I'm also pretty sure that I am now the head of the Jewish Army in Toronto. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure.
The food's way better than
I think that pretty much. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that covers it. If I've missed anything, Benny, please feel free.
No, that's pretty much it.
Awesome,
they had no idea what the laws were. We educated them on that. We plugged Ragnarok, told them to get their licenses, or just come out and try it and see what's going on.
I mean, and I really tried to impart the fact that, like, gun training, in my opinion, is important and crucial. If nothing else, it makes you less afraid of them. And should something horrible happen and there's a guy that shows up with a gun, at the very least, then you know how to use that gun. If you're able to wrestle it from them, or if they drop it, and make it safe.
Well, you can also notice
thing is medical training. Like, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. One thing that like familiarization, like, with firearms and shooting, like, if also you can notice, like, if something goes wrong, like, a lot of times, like, you hear in a mass shooting, like, the gun will jam or something and no one can recognize what's going on and capitalize on that problem. Like, it's just like,
exactly. Right. Like, I certainly said, like, look, we're happy to teach all of the people all of the fun stuff and, how to do this, that, and everything else. But, ultimately in this country, having a gun with you isn't very good. Like, in your own home, maybe, but that's if you can get it out of the safe in time and everything else. But we also do medical training.
And the first aid stuff is what's going to save people's lives realistically.
Yeah, because
you can't defend yourself.
Yeah, we had an elderly lady go, well, what can I do? Like, I can't kick somebody in the head. And I said, I'll show you exactly what you can do. And then I pulled out one of the wound cubes that Andrew and I have from our last medical training and showed her how to pack a bullet hole. At which point then, like, everyone lost interest in me because they just wanted to learn cool gun stuff. But hopefully at least a handful of people realize that that's the thing that's actually going to to make the biggest difference in terms of casualties. But then hopefully they come and pay money for that, and and come out for gun training too, because that's almost as equally important.
Yeah.
And financially for us, it's equally as important.
Have you guys seen the video from the doctor that's talking exactly about that? How he got really upset about that whole "stay in your lane" tweet from the NRA, but what you really need to do is learn how to stop people from bleeding out.
Yeah.
He said the exact same stuff. That was a great video.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But there was an article that was in the paper going around that was as soon as they heard about the meeting, the media was all up in arms because they're like, the Jews are going to start a militia and arm themselves. And it's like, that's not what's happening, guys. They just want to know what's our legal option here.
Yeah.
Can we, can't we? It got a little blown out of proportion.
That's the media for you.
Yeah, but
I'm still going with your head of the Jewish militia. I like
that.
Yeah,
until I hear otherwise, I'm assuming that I am as well.
Yeah, Benny, does he get like an honorary yarmulke, or how does this work?
Yeah, whatever. It's cool.
Sweet.
Nice.
Really, really, I just want like a JDL T-shirt, and I think that'd be awesome enough.
And maybe some bagels.
Yeah. I'll even pay for them. Just tell me the good place to go.
Well, these
good for you
bagels,
guys.
just
That's,
on Bathurst, South of Lawrence.
They're actually good because I saw the name of that place. It was like, come on, like.
Yeah, no, actually, yeah.
Best bagels in town.
Bagels. Yeah,
All
they're
right.
really good.
You heard it, folks. Orthodox approved. Booby's Bagels. Best bagels in Toronto.
All right. Rapid fire feedback this week. We have a cassette tape that was sent in.
Dear sir, my name is Earl, and this is in reply to your request for feedback on your internet radio show. I first heard your show when my great-grandson played it for me on his smartphone while driving me to Canadian Tire to buy ammunition. Wait a minute. I already told you assholes this. Stop it. My God, what a summer. I've been having fun ever since Doug Ford got elected. Hell, I'm almost out of axe handles. Sven and I have been doing our best, but there just isn't the whiskey barrels left that there used to be to make swish out of. And alcohol's so expensive, we can't drink it all day like we used to. But I'm not about to take up the marijuana like that pothead Justin Trudeau. Stop it. I tell you, I sure am looking forward to that bucket beer, and every time I think about it, my Johnson gets so hard you could damn near dice a radish on it. Stop it. Did you fellas see Bill Marno in Parliament? Stop it. I mean him and Stop it. I mean him and Ralph Goodale. Stop it. What in the blazes has gotten into you, boy? You not like when I talk into the tape recorder? We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. A full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna give you up. Holy shit, I gotta go. Judge Judy's coming on. Stop it.
Who sent that in? Because that was pretty awesome.
Well, the cassette said from Earl. No return address, of course.
Very good.
Oh,
So
I missed
thanks, Earl.
Yeah.
We were just rickrolled by Earl.
Although I think he's got to look into some of those regulations about him and his dog. I think they've changed recently.
I think as long as you don't penetrate, you're okay.
Oral only, you're good.
Yeah.
No, not anymore, gentlemen. Not
Oh, what?
God damn it!
Oh,
What is this, North Korea?
Yeah, apparently.
All right, let's wrap this up. Dave, where can everybody find you on the internet?
I have a Twitter on the Twitter things at Random Dave 2. I've posted one thing, so whatever.
Gavin, where can everyone find you on the internet?
The best place to find me is on the Instagram at Urbex_GTA.
All right, Ian, where can everybody find you when you're not on the original CPP?
You can find me at the islandretreat@gmail.com and the fledgling new one, the Canadian Prepper Podcast.
Can you say that 3 times fast, Ian?
Canadian Prepper Podcast 3 times.
Oh, there
3
you
times
go.
fast. You blew it.
Oh, see? Oh,
You can't even anyway.
never mind.
Marty, where can everybody find the show?
As always, you can visit us CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast, or send us your feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Benny, where can everybody find you?
BennyLewis.ca or Facebook at BennyLewis.ca.
All right. And Tim, where can everyone find you?
you can find me at Facebook.com/Tim'sGoodT-shirts.
And just a small note here that I'm in the Google show notes right now. And I'm finding it amusing that the people on here are Andrew Vincent, Anonymous Tiger, Anonymous Turtle, Anonymous Koala, Anonymous Pumpkin, and Ian.
Wonder which one
I must be the pumpkin.
Tim is the turtle. Or sorry, the tiger.
He's an anonymous
Tim is the tiger.
wombat.
You're a wombat then, Dave.
Am I the wombat? Sweet.
Someone's a wombat.
I'm
Yeah.
a wombat then. Which I found out today. Someone randomly mentioned to me that wombats poop square, which I have to look up to see if that is actually true because they have round anuses. So how does that work? Round hair, round poops, square poop, round hole.
Australia.
Australia's fucked. That place is best.
Yeah, their toilets actually turn the other way too.
Yes, Bart.
You mean the poo comes up out of the toilet?
Yeah, and it's fair.
Well, that's frightening.
Yeah.
You can find me at RagnarokTactical.ca. Buy some bandages. We have first aid stuff back in stock again. Big old order of first aid stuff just came in. I have to apologize to that guy that we apologized to, Rod Giltaca.
That's
the guy. Because
Podcart this week.
really, really big panel this week, and he was super busy, so scheduling conflicts all around. We couldn't fit him in. He couldn't fit us in. It's okay. We're still number one. And for all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.
You so have to play the music so we can hear it.
That music really grew on me.
I like that music, and we don't get to listen to it as panelists. Like, we get host here.
I didn't like it at first. I like it now.
I listen to the show still. I still get to listen to it.
I don't think I've ever listened to that.
If you don't like that, I got this one.
I can't air guitar to that.
How did that actually begin?
Because the only music that I have queued up in the jingle palette is for the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry.
As one should.
For entirely legitimate reasons.